Episode 14.
Struggling to get your business online? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Small Business Puzzle Podcast. Now, here's your hosts, Michael and Teresa Blaze.
Welcome to the Small Business Puzzle Podcast. I'm Michael, and I'm here with my wife and co-host, Teresa.
Greetings, everybody.
And online, we're known as the Two Blind Marketers.
So, how are you doing there, Mike?
I am doing good. It's been an interesting week for sure.
Isn't it always?
All kinds of lovely, fun medical challenges.
Oh, yes. Everything from mucked up shoulders to mucked up wrists. You name it, it happens.
Teresa has carpal tunnel syndrome in her left arm, and I have a torn rotator cuff.
Makes things interesting.
Definitely. Thank God we work in an industry where we don't really have to worry about that too much.
No,
I have a few announcements. We still have the contest going, and it's sbppodcast.com/contest. And we are giving away your choice of an Amazon gift card or an iTunes gift card in the amount of $25 and a 30-minute set. Was it 30-minute or an hour? I can't remember.
I believe it was 30-minute.
A 30-minute session for the person that comes up with the name of our tribe.
As well as the some templates that we use within our business that you can modify for yours.
Yeah, the templates are going to go to everybody who participates in the contest.
Yep.
All you need to do, again, is go to sbppodcast.com/contest and enter. And you're running out of time. We're going to be closing the contest out on the 29th or the end of May.
So you might want to rush over there and do that tappity-tap thing on the keyboard and go over and enter our little contest here.
Absolutely. And want to let you know that we're coming up on 2,000 downloads. Can you believe it, Trace?
No, but I'm not surprised either.
We appreciate you. We appreciate your brain lock
feedback,
and we also appreciate your participation and your loyalty to the podcast. If you haven't yet, would appreciate it if you could leave a nice little review on iTunes for us. That's how we grow. And
you can also leave it on Stitcher or Google Play.
And we have several ways you can contact us. You can leave us a voice message. On our homepage is a link that you can click that will allow you to leave a voice message using SpeakPipe. Or you can leave a comment on the show notes page. And the show notes for this episode are going to be episode number 14. So it'll be sbppodcast.com/14. So, with all that being said, let's get into the content.
And what are we talking about today?
We are talking about autoresponders.
Now, what the heck is an autoresponder?
An autoresponder is a computer program that automatically sends out email at preset times and intervals. So basically what that happens is, I'm sure you've seen where you've gone onto a web page and they're saying, to get our free report, just enter your email address here. And you enter your email address and you're sent either a link to the to the content that you want, or you might be sent the content attached, or you might be sent to a web page where you can download the content.
I've seen multiple instances of each kind.
Yes. They're powerful communication tools, and you can put out a lot of information in a short time.
So what are some of the examples of what an autoresponder can be used for?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you can have a sequence of messages that are designed to take your customer from being a prospect to being a customer. So you might present a little content each time and present a little content, and you're just kind of poking at them a little bit going, hey, we're here. We've got this great content for you, and here's eventually what you do is you take them to the point where you take them to some kind of a buy button so that they can buy the upgraded version of the content or something related to the content, or access to maybe a webinar or a seminar or any number of things.
Well, how many touches? Let me back up here. How many emails should you send to communicate with this person?
Every industry is different. It may be just one or two, but in most cases, probably most business experts say it takes 7 touches in order to get someone to take some kind of action.
And a touch is defined as?
A touch can be an email. It can be a phone call. It can be an in-person meeting. It can be a article. It can be a infographic. It can be any of the above. A voice blast. All those good things. But it takes an average of 7 touches before somebody will take action.
And here's a question: do you want to sell right from, like, someone's in their inbox? Do you want to sell right from the inbox?
Probably not. What you want to do is provide useful content to them, and what that does is that builds you up as an expert.
Okay. Well, what else can you tell us about autoresponders then?
Well, another thing autoresponders can be used for is to send out newsletters, or after someone buys a product, you can send out messages in order to support that purchase. You've got a course, a five module course on thus and so. You might send out an email for each module, timed over a little bit of time, to kind of encourage those people to go ahead and dig into the content. I've seen that done a lot. In fact, we've done that some in our marketing. So that's that.
And I kind of want to stop here. What Mike is talking about is the follow-up after you make a sale, okay?
It's sometimes called a follow-up sequence.
And, that is, like, seriously key. When you're talking about, keeping contact, because remember, your customers may make a buying decision, but that doesn't mean they're actually going to engage with your product. It's up to you to keep yourself kind of in front of them so they actually use your product or service.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about, there are a number of different ways to get an autoresponder going, okay? There are a number of services. Probably the one that's the most well-known is one called Aweber.
Okay.
Now, Aweber is a really good service. They've got really good deliverability. They've got awesome templates that are easily customizable. and they just started adding some marketing automation into into the service, which will do things like someone takes a particular action and it's going to trigger a different sequence, or maybe it'll move them to a different list, or all that good stuff. And that's called segmenting, by the way. Segmenting is when you take your list and you break it into smaller lists of people that have taken particular action. And what that lets you do is to kind of customize your message to each different list. For example, we have a list for the contest. We have a list for the email for the podcast itself. We have a list for content creation. And actually not lists, we have a segment for each of those. So what happens is all of our subscribers are on one list. But what we can do is we can send out a different message based on what that subscriber does. Well, so let's say that we send them a message on, they've subscribed to the podcast, but we send them a message about the contest. They go and they subscribe, and all of a sudden they're receiving the content for the contest. So really, really powerful strategy here.
A lot of times what I've seen when you talk about segmenting lists is segmenting out buyers versus regular subscribers.
That's important, because when you have emails for your buyers versus emails for your prospects, you have a different messaging that you want to give each one. Your prospect, you want to talk to and say, hey, we've got this great thing out there, and here's some information about it, and oh, by the way, here's the link to buy it. Well, your buyers, on the other hand, you want to support their decision that they bought. You want to make them feel like that they made a good purchase decision. And you don't necessarily want them to receive prospect emails. So you've received prospect emails, you're going to tick them off, because they're going to be like, wait a sec, I already bought this.
No,
why in the heck am I getting messages about this?
Right. No, what you really want to do is kind of encourage them in the buying decision that you already made, but then slowly begin to encourage them to buy something else.
Exactly.
So,
so there's Aweber, and I kind of went off on a rabbit trail there.
I'm used to that.
There's GetResponse, which is another one. There's Constant Contact, and we will provide links for all of these in the show notes so you guys can try them out. And there's a new one. There's another kind of autoresponder that we've been playing with, and I'm going to call it a self-hosted autoresponder. Now, just like a self-hosted website, a self-hosted autoresponder is one that resides on your server, or we actually have one now that resides on a cloud server. So it's not on our hosting; it's on a cloud server. And the nice thing about the self-hosted is there's usually no monthly cost. Aweber, GetResponse, Constant Contact all have monthly costs, where this is a one-time cost. Sometimes it can be a pretty expensive cost, but it's a one-time cost. So
which would you recommend for our listeners to start out with?
It really depends on what you're trying to do with your autoresponder, and also how big your list is. That's another factor. For example, Aweber, when you starts at $19 a month, but then when you hit over 500 subscribers, it jumps to $29 a month. So that's something really important. That's one of the biggest factors. I mean, we've looked at them all because we were using Aweber before, and we started to, and then we heard about this self-hosted one, and we tried that for a little while. The thing we didn't like about it is it did not have the features that we wanted in it. We could segment, but the forms were just not attractive, and trying to get the forms to integrate with stuff was just a royal pain.
Right. Now, keep in mind the one that Mike is talking about is not the self-hosted one we are currently using.
Right. We're using a new one called MailX, and that is a one-time cost. It's actually on sale right now. I'm not sure what the final price is going to be, but I will have a link to that in the show notes as well. So again, okay, someone is saying, okay, that's great, but what,
I only have a little bit of money here. What should I do?
Okay, there's another option too you might consider. Now, here's the thing with Aweber, GetResponse, and Constant Contact. They all have trials. So if you're anticipating your list growing pretty quickly and you're willing to take the action that it takes to get it going, then you have a good chance of justifying that cost. Because if you've got over 500 subscribers that are taking action, and then the likelihood is you're going to be bringing in revenue that will justify the cost of paying for an autoresponder, or paying for that autoresponder rather. But if you think if you're just kind of going to go with the flow and take it slow, then the one I would recommend, well, if you're not going to go the self-hosted one like what we're using, then the other one I would recommend is Mailchimp. Now, Mailchimp is pretty solid. It used to not be. It used to be kind of flighty, but it's become pretty solid. And you can have up to 1,500 subscribers in Mailchimp. But the thing that I don't like about Mailchimp, I don't like the forms. They're really hard to use. So, which means what you have to do at that point is you either have to hire a designer to create your forms, or you have to use a service like Lead Pages to create your forms. Now, that's what we use. We use Lead Pages. So when you see the really colorful, pretty things with the timers, etc., like what's on our contest page, that's Lead Pages. And we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. Lead Pages is awesome.
Lead Pages is one of the best tools that we've had.
And the customer service and the support and the help and the training, I can't say enough about it. I was really pleasantly surprised because a lot of these things you get into and you're like, I don't know about this, but it's been a valuable tool and a big time saver too. And what you can do with that is make your landing pages. And what I mean by a landing page is a page that has some kind of a call to action and tries to get them to take an action, whether it's to call, whether it's to email, whether it's to send a text message, whatever. That's a landing page. And some of them, you really have to compare and contrast each one to see which one's going to work best for your business.
Well, so you have the trial, and then you have the self-hosted, and you've talked about Mailchimp, and you've talked about Lead Pages. So if someone were starting out, what are the absolute resources that they need right now?
You need a basic autoresponder. If budget is a real issue, start with Mailchimp. You can always move it over. That's one of the things that's important to realize. Now, here's something else to factor in. Import and export capability. Not all the autoresponders will import a list Like for Aweber, for example, if you import a list, they're going to send an email to each one of your subscribers asking them to resubscribe to the list to say that this is what they want to do. So you may have problems later on. And there's another concept we need to talk about too here, Therese, we haven't discussed, and that's single versus double opt-in.
And what's the difference between that?
A single opt-in, somebody goes in, they fill out the form, and they're immediately sent the content that they're looking for. Double opt-in, they receive an email saying that basically saying, you've requested this information. Are you sure you want to do this? And you can you have to click a link in order to get the content. So there's two schools of thought on this. One school is that double opt-in prevents spam, or it may not prevent it, but it drops the amount of spam, because you're reminded, yes, you went ahead and subscribed to this, and the customer is much less likely to go to their email program and say, oh, this is spam, and then you get a down check. Okay.
All right. I think, there's something I've actually thought about when I think about single versus double opt-in. Single opt-in, I would use mainly with your subscribers if you want them to move over to another list for some reason.
Right.
Okay. Double opt-in is better for if you're trying to get new subscribers.
Right.
That way okay, yes, they actually do really want my content.
Now, the challenge with that, though, is it's a little harder to get someone to click that link. Sometimes they'll get that, they want the content. They want instant gratification. So they don't want to click that link. Very really, true. I have to go through another step to do this. And that's another reason why single opt-in, a lot of marketers use single opt-in. So, it's something you have to test for yourself. It's like we always say, test, track, measure, tweak. In everything you do in your marketing, this is what you need to do. Now, one of the things you want to make sure of, but we haven't really talked about this with emails, is you want to make sure you can track two things. You want to be able to track your open rate. And what I mean by your open rate is how many people you send out an email to people, and how many people open that email and read it.
Okay. Well, so then let me ask you this: let me rephrase this. You talk about the open rate. I honestly believe that's the job of a headline in your email. Okay.
Absolutely.
The subject line of your email is not to sell them. It is to simply get them to open the email.
Anybody who's knows anything about copywriting will tell you your goal with each piece of copy, and we're going to do an episode on copywriting here pretty soon. But every piece of every piece of writing or content, the whole purpose of that piece of content is to lead you to another piece of content, or lead you to a buy button, or lead you to a subscribe button, or whatever. Okay. So yeah, the headline is really important, and that headline should be truthful, and it should grab their attention and say, open me. Okay.
That makes sense.
Now, the other statistic or analytic you need to track is your click you need to track your clicks. What I mean is, you may have 1 or 2 or 3 links in that email, and you want to track which one your people are clicking.
Very true.
Because then you know, again, what message resonates with those people. And if you're doing something like a split test, and what a split test is, very basically, is you create 2 emails and you send them out to an equal number of people. Each one has a different headline or a different content in it. And here I am. I might be getting a little too complex with this, because it is a complex topic, to be honest with you. But the biggest thing you want to make sure, let's kind of tweak this a little bit. I'm going to give you guys some tips.
All right.
Studies show that an email will continue to be a productive marketing channel for years to come. You need to make sure you adhere to all spam laws. This is really important, because if you get too many spam complaints, your provider is going to shut you down. Okay, let's see. Well, anything else you can think of, Therese?
I would just encourage everybody to, look, decide, and then take action. That's one of the biggest keys. If you want to, engage in email marketing and using an autoresponder, I would say do so. We're going to provide all the resources you need to make an informed decision. And you know what? Just do it, A really good friend of ours used to say at the end of every message, just go out and do this stuff.
Don Crowther.
So
now, at the bottom of the show notes, we will have a button that you can click to get to download a report about autoresponders. It's going to go into a lot more depth than what we're covering here. We'll have a mini report and we'll have a checklist for you. So that'll kind of get you in the right spec. So with that, this has been the Small Business Puzzle Podcast. I'm Michael.
And I'm Teresa.
And this is episode number 14, sbppodcast.com/14. Have a great day.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Small Business Puzzle Podcast. To catch all our past shows, visit sbppodcast.com.